Hi, all. Nina and I are back today for our last short before the premiere of season 2, and we're really going to keep it short today.
Happy Labor Day to all our listeners in the States. Speaking of geography, are you two settled in yet?
Lila and I are back to a normal routine. She has her new dog squad down at the park, but she misses her bestie, Mato.
Well, poor puppy. Okay, but enough about you guys. Let's give an outline of what we'll be discussing in season 2.
Go for it.
Oh, are you going to do another slideshow for this one?
Yes, of course. I'm going to try to do that for each episode in the coming season.
Well, that would be great, but we'll see.
Keyword is try. If I didn't have to work, it would be a different story. All right, enough of that. Tell us about season 2.
Well, the season begins with the arrest of the men who Jack Kelly gave statements against. Pro Lerner, Rudy Sciarra, and the others would find themselves charged with the murders of Rudy Maffeo and Anthony Millay.
Raymond Patriarca, who was already serving federal time on conspiracy charges for the murder of Rudy Maffeo's brother Willie, was also charged. Jack's cooperation would later lead to the arrests of Jerry Angiulo, Butchie Maselli, and even Carlo Gambino.
And those weren't the only men the feds charged. Jack's statements would lead to Louis Minacchio taking it on the lam for a decade, so of course there will be an episode titled Where in the World is Louis Minacchio?
And we get to go from South America to Europe in that episode. Speaking of traveling, we'll also be covering the gambling junkets, Pinky Panarelli, and of course more Vinnie Teresa.
And Vinny won't be the only returnee. There will be much more of Frank Salemi and Stevie Flemmi, who would also go on the lam after Special Agent Rico told them to leave town. Plenty more ranting from Lara about Frankie's fantastical stories to come.
Oh, no shortage of my complaining about Frankie's fables. And speaking of Franks, we have Frank Capizzi and Frank Imbruglio, who will also be back, both involved in attempted hits, but on different ends of a gun.
Special Agent H. Rico will be back both in his capacity as a Fed and with his activities after he retires from the FBI. One of Rico's favorite liars, Joe Barboza, will also be back, and not just to testify in front of Congress, but with his death at the hands of Joseph J.R. Russo.
I still want to know why Barboza was writing letters to Dominic Ciambelli, a.k.a. Red Hogan, while they were both in the can.
Well, I want to know what he was writing to him.
You might not want to know.
Well, maybe not. What I do know is that there won't be any shortage of hits or bank robberies and more than a few art heists. And speaking of artwork, I have to tell this story about a secret witness helping the FBI retrieve the stolen dolly in 1982. I just knew that it had to be Richie. So I sent Lara a text message asking how did Richie feel about Dolly? Well, it turned out that Richie had gotten her a book about Salvador Dali for her birthday that year. Of course, the feds refused to put Richie on the stand. I can't imagine why.
Liar. Ted was also roaming around with paintings wrapped in bed sheets and various forms of artwork in the trunk of his car. I never really paid attention except for a small Rodin statue that was rolling around back there. But Nina and I were never able to figure out where it might have come from. Maybe it was a fake.
Well, that's a possibility. And what would art heists in Boston be without Miles Connor and Al Munday? We'll be bringing a new series of Hit Parade episodes in the 70s and 80s, just as we did for the 1960s in season 1.
In both making ceremonies from 1977 and 1989, Sonny Mercury will be making, no pun intended, more than a few appearances also. Nina and I will be discussing when we feel Sonny actually became an informant. Naturally, there will also be a few wiretaps, most notably the one at Jerry Angiulo's and Larry Bione's, both of which would eventually lead to their downfalls.
Well, I know I keep saying this, but you would have thought that after the whole wiretap fiasco in the 1960s, they would have learned their lessons, but neither Jerry nor Larry could keep their mouths shut. The ultimate gossipers and braggarts. Nikki Bianca will be back in the 70s and 80s, and speaking of Rhode Island, good old Denny Litvin Raimondi will also be making another appearance before he too meets his end. And what would Rhode Island be without more episodes about Raymond Patriarca and the Beccari clan?
As much as we hate to do it because it is so overdone, it is Boston after all, so there will be a dose of Whitey Bulger, the Blackfriars Massacre, and the Valhalla. We'll also be discussing the furlough program in Massachusetts, what the boys were up to in jail, including Pro's juicing habits and workout regime, Mello's cocaine ring, and the Mickey Mouse stamps he purchased on the state dime to label his drug baggies.
And it certainly wouldn't be a season of Double Deal without us complaining about the feds and their activities. Many of the agents at the Boston office would move on to other jobs, sometimes overseeing the very organizations that they had previously been tasked with investigating. We'll also be introducing some new feds, John Connolly and his boss, John Morris.
And on that note, enjoy your day, everybody. Hope you listen next week for the premiere of season 2. Bye.
Bye.